And 3, 2, 1. Welcome to LibernetLIVE. Libernet is a project that aims to marry the blockchain technology and cryptocurrency and NFTs and books and the publishing industry. And tonight on our first live stream interview, I have been left alone with Andy. We've had Andy a couple of times on for various things, but we are together in solitude. How are you, Andy?
Man, it's an absolute pleasure, Jim, to be able to launch this with you, man. This is something, man. We've been talking behind the scenes for a while now about doing this first show. Right. And to actually have this first show, man, and like some of the ideas that we have plans for future shows between me and you, right. Man, I'm really excited about this. Like, this is about being fun. This is about having an experience with different people and making it more where you can be involved in the projects and you can be a part of it and kind of find something within it. And so, man, I really appreciate you having me on here, being a part of this project and willing to go the way with me, man, because that's what you're going to do, right, Jim? You're going to go the way with me, right?
All the way, man. I mean and it's going to be a long way as well. Like you were talking about the this pilgrimage that people undertake in the United States, as you were just telling me, which was fascinating to hear. I mean, it seems we're going to go on a pilgrimage of our own on this journey of unlocking puzzles, and really exciting. And over the last 24 hours, I think your Twitter has gained was it 250 followers? That's within the last 24 hours, if I'm correct.
Well, I mean, we're releasing the puzzle. This is something I've worked on a long time, and first, to address the elephant in the room, the thing is that anybody that comes over for my project that has joined, those 250 followers that joined over this last 24 hours because of the excitement that was built about this project. Yeah, we first need to address the elephant in the room as far as the idea of my book. It's called Synchronistic by Ashley Isaac Stevens. Yeah. So I wrote it under a pseudonym, and so that is the elephant in the room, and the aspect of me not joining you yet, as far as on camera and kind of putting a face to this, is that this is really about his day right now, and this is about his moment. And I felt like if I were to just come on here and just all of a sudden be like, hey, I'm Andy, that first of all, it confused people. And second of all, I just felt like this was his time to shine. And I'm looking forward to having this interview with you and breaking this down as we go, man.
Absolutely. And the first puzzle has been cracked. For people that didn't watch our one on Wednesday, you were announcing the puzzle. Now it's been announced and now it's been broken. Am I correct?
That is correct, man. And one of the people, it's funny, and I made sure to ask her permission before this call to say, hey, do you mind if I share this? Because it's so synchronistic as in the aspect that, my puzzle, I was really concerned because it was rather easy in one way because it was the name of the book. So I showed my brother the puzzle, and he knows what's going on in my life, and he had no idea what it said, but he's like, let me take a crack at it. Just name my book. And obviously, so I was really concerned about people starting to get the answer to the puzzle before they understood why the puzzle was what it was. Yeah. And so I'm very fortunate that she was on the call that we had on Token Smart. Really was enamored with the idea of what this is going to be working on. And she decided, her name's Lindsay. She lives in New York. And she told me, you know what, I was going to go out and listen to music and go out into the city. And then all of a sudden, your puzzle breaks. And she said she sat down in this rabbit hole that I sent her down into. And she found it. I was really impressed with her work. I was really impressed of how she did it. And so kudos to Lindsay. Man, you're strong, and you made this project work the right way to begin with. So I can't thank you enough.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what we do now is you share your screen and show the puzzle, and then we can talk for a little bit here, because it is a little bit of a rabbit hole of what this puzzle was, because I had people that were master code breakers that I told them, like, hey, you're either going to know this or you're not. It's not
Right.
like some kind of code. And I showed it to one of them. They were like, yeah, I don't know what in the world this is.
Right.
So I say we show them that video, and then we get to kind of some of the ideas behind the puzzles, because it might help people, hint, hint, figure out some puzzles in the future.
Okay, let's share the screen. Let me do this. Okay. And I'll play the entire puzzle. I'll put it on full screen. And this is the puzzle that's been cracked already. Is that right?
It has been cracked. It's been
lovely stuff. Let me just add it to the stream. There we go. All of that lovely stuff. And then we go on to Ashley Isaac Stevens' Twitter, and then we shall put it on full screen for everyone to see. Let's have a look. It might be able to share the audio. Not too sure. Let's take it back a little bit.
Yeah, it's good. This is a good learning experience for you, though, as far as
it is. It really is. I mean, you know, the live stream, you know, it can be different from an actual, from something like this, you know.
No, but that's good. We can talk about this. This is about a book that's being released in pieces, with each segment unlocked by puzzles. You know, so I mean, it's got dramatic music, blah, right in your face, and with the rewards of 1 and 1 NFTs. You know, for those that reach the end, that solve each puzzle. So there will be 11 to 12 different puzzles that people will have to solve, and they'll get this 1-of-1 NFT. And this is where I come in with this voracious bodge of this sound to say, and now to release this first puzzle. And the puzzle is about to come up right now. I don't know if you might want to pause it on a second right here. That's the puzzle. So I was a little bit concerned in some aspects of this being like all the other stuff. And there was people probably already starting to go down rabbit holes of all the intro and what are the different things in the video I'm seeing, when I'm going to make the NFT, this is a hint for people in the future. There is going to be some poetry involved, you know, or this or that might send, but all the artwork I believe we're working with is going to have the puzzle on the artwork. There might be a poem that you have to break a code to get, you know, the answer to unlock a type of cipher. There's other stuff that we're getting involved, but you know, the main thing is to always focus on the art itself. And in some cases, like this next puzzle, there will be a poem that you have to kind of break, but the artwork itself will always be the major piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as a poem to be broken, it's a bit of a different thing to this. This seems much more like a cipher, like you know, there's a code here,
right.
And you know, I don't know what the answer is. I'm sure you'd want to keep that a secret for people. I'm sure once the people have broken it, you want to make sure other people can also crack it themselves. So it's really interesting.
What it is, you know, that's where I'm talking about the shows we're going to have where we talk about the puzzles, because that was the coolest thing, is the rabbit hole that she got to tell me that she went down. I kind of really felt like the person that broke this puzzle would already know what they were seeing in some ways, because they've been already studying it, but she hadn't. And that's what mesmerized me as much. I did have a couple people that started asking about some hints and saying, this kind of seems like Sanskrit or something like that. And I didn't want to answer them yet. If we got to this call right here, I would have started going into a little bit more of the details, but I didn't want to give anybody a chance to be ahead of the game. But I was pretty impressed with an idiot that all of a sudden said that to me. But you know, that's just a shout out to somebody. They know who they are. But you know, the thing is that, you know, what this is right here is I can't even call it a dead language, but it was a language, and that's why I really was like, I'm not answering this one. I'm not answering anything, because I don't want y'all to, you know, all of a sudden not answer something. They're like, oh, that's it. So this is what is called in a lot of circles the Enochian language. Okay. And so what has happened, and I'll break some stuff down for you, is that the idea besides my book is to take people down rabbit holes with these puzzles, things that they're like, oh my God, I never knew anything like this. Like, where did this come from? And just send people on adventures of studying parts of history and different people's work. And this involves a guy named John Dee. Last name is spelled D-E-E. And he was, I guess you could say, like, it's hard to say. He was like a head of, like, when Queen Elizabeth was Queen of England, he was like a kind of sorcerer that looked into astrology and looked into different things, almost as an oracle for her. But the deal is we're talking about a time. This is right after Henry VIII cutting off all his wife's heads because he can't divorce them. So there's a battle raging in that area of the world at this point between this Catholic and Protestant and all this stuff that's going on under Queen Elizabeth's reign, and she has a sorcerer working for her. It wasn't exactly like the time and place to have somebody reading your tarot cards, if you will. So
there is I mean, we talk about and the whole thing with Hermeticism, and I was definitely, going through these. I went through my own kind of rabbit hole when I sort of got into the Masonic world quite briefly, and I got a few Hermetic books, and how the whole thing with chemistry used to be called alchemy, and there are all sorts of brands here now that are much more sort of formalized and probably civilized, if you want to say it in a sort of weird way, but they have very interesting roots down to sort of secret societies, sort of breaking codes of patterns of human beings.
Too much into my puzzles, dude. There might hit people. There might be.
I don't know the answer. I'm just piecing things together just from what I know about Hermeticism. My lips are sealed.
No, this is exactly it. And I mean, it's really kind of looking into this history, of the world. I've joked with people as far as with this, because what this is like, so John Dee started finding that he could look into these crystal balls and he could see stuff like materializing. The problem was he wasn't able to figure out what he was actually seeing. So he got some different people to come and see if they could see. And then this one guy, believe the name is Thomas Kelly. I hope I'm not getting shot in the foot, but this is part of this whole thing, is that he came and he was able to see into this, and John Dee would kind of interpret what was going on within this crystal ball. And basically they were studying alchemy. They were studying this kind of things. And like, they were even told at one time, like, hey, you need to get out of England right now. They're about to come and storm your stuff, man. Like, this is no bueno. You got to go. He took his whole family and they took both their families. They took off, and right afterwards, it came true. They came to get him because he's over there during this Catholic Protestant thing. He had to go to a king and tell a king that he was not being right and possibly was going to be put to death by just going up to this king. But obviously, if you might be able to figure out how to turn something into gold, you probably, have an okay chance of living back during that time period. But one day they were working on this, and these spirits were like, hey, we're going to give you this language. And this is the language that was spoken in the Garden of Eden between Adam and Eve. And they did this language overnight and presented it kind of afterwards to the world. And there is linguists still today that are like, dude, this is a language that could have been used. That's, like it has all the features, everything that they did with it showed all the features of something that they didn't understand how they could create it in a night. So,
Right.
I mean, the terrible part of the story, the climax of this story, is that actually the spirits told this Thomas Kelly and this John Dee that they had to actually switch wives and bed the other person's wife towards this end of their story. And basically, one of them did become pregnant. I'm curious about the lineage of that person, but they broke up and were never together again after this. But yeah, it's just an interesting story to read about John Dee and just to find out like this has gone into magic. So I'm really happy Lindsay broke this and that me and her are in a good place together, because
That's
this
fantastic.
could have been a blessing or curse, because they actually use that for magic with a K and rituals, kind of to this day in
Right.
circles.
Right. It's I mean, the Hermetic path is fascinating, and there are so many interesting stories about in weird ways that like represent where we are now. I think and when we talk about like like actual one of the interesting things about history is that we can find history in everything we do. I mean, I'm smoking a cigarette right now. It's not just taken for granted. It's from a specific history with learning about the tobacco trade, and and in the West our big intoxicants are tobacco and alcohol. And I was thinking about this today about regarding just just how things came to be, and you can learn so much from history, and you can and a lot of it is very mysterious. There's a lot of strange things that have happened, and yet still define how we operate as Western people today. It is fascinating.
Yeah, man, and it's fascinating in the aspect that history is written by the winners of wars, and so much history gets destroyed, as this new ideology is busted out in the scene, and we got to destroy all these monuments that are precious, that are just absolutely from the beginning of the history that we know. And so going down kind of some of these rabbit holes, because it's not something that they're just blasting on the media, so to discover and try to look through this, even at the age that I am now, like you get older and older, and you're 17 and obviously everything. And then as you get older, you get older and you keep on learning all this stuff, and you're like, dude, and it's just a whole new avenue, a whole new place that you're just like, this has been here all along. So it's just fascinating, man. And that's what I want to bring to people, besides like releasing the part of my work. This doesn't have anything to do with the work itself. I just want to send people on rabbit holes with these puzzles to introduce them to different parts of history.
Discover things under their nose. I mean, there's so much that there's so much there's so much we don't know that we don't know. And to sort of learn. You can learn about something that just once you learn about it, you can't unsee it in so many places. It's like, so of course it's like that, and then you examine the world and you just see it in a whole new different way. And it's brilliant that you've got this whole hermetic journey just as a kind of feature of one of these puzzles. I mean, there's a calling for perhaps another book to be written about that. And yes, it is just based on just your idea to invoke curiosity. I think is the big one. Is the big one. I can sort of tell, And
that's exactly what this. I mean, as I said, dude, you nailed it. I mean, again, the curiosity. I don't mean to be so aloof with people, but the thing is,
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful part of your character, Andy.
It is what this is, because to go into a little bit for a second of the book, there's a beginning part of the book that Ashley says to the audience, "Here I have no face, and there you have no name."
Yeah.
And he knows that he's talking to people that he will not see, and they won't see him. As a matter of fact, within this book, the only characteristic that I give to the main characters is, that the female lead has blue eyes, the deepest blue as the ocean. It is the only physical character, so I want the people to build what they see as the person who, I mean, does, where are they from as far as this and that? Like, I did not want to give features to those. I wanted to recognize the scenes they were in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate you understanding some of that curiosity, man, because it's just built into this. And where we're going to find out. But I think this is going to be an awesome, awesome experience that people can be involved in, win NFTs, and be a part of this journey with me, because I've waited a long time and sat a long time in my room building this and taking myself away from, hey, let's go out tonight. You know what? I really kind of need to think about this. And now I finally get to share that, man. And so many nights I spent just working on this instead of just living that moment. And I'm glad now because I get to have this moment.
Absolutely. I mean, and it has been, for people that don't know, it's been years. It's been like, I mean, I know you spent 6 years focusing maybe on this particularly, but like, I remember a figure being thrown around, like 12 years you've had some idea of this project.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it for more than that. The release of this book, just to get to that, and I apologize. I saw where you were going, and
don't worry.
Yeah, don't mean to cut you off on that, but the release of this book was in 2013.
Yeah.
As myself, but the thing is that this is a part of a bookends. There's a second book that's coming out that I'm working on, and it's called 6 Minutes. And to let people know and go ahead and drop the kind of proverbial bomb on this is that the reason Ashley is the writer of the first book is because this involves a suicide. And when I wrote this book and just purged on these pages, like all these things that like I felt within the character, felt within this, it was just this negative purge of getting this. So, it is really, it's an emotional roller coaster of love and despise and all this stuff. And 6 Minutes is my next book. It's written by me. And it's after the heart stops beating, you have 6 minutes of brain activity. And so if a dream can last mere seconds, but seem so long, how long can that 6 minutes last, and what all could happen during it? Absolutely. And so the idea is, this is Ashley's death I'm writing about. He does not die at the end of the first book. And I had personal friends that read it and were like, oh, I believe maybe Ashley didn't die because it doesn't show his death. And that was because I don't see a way a person like, hey, I'm dying right now. Like you writing your own death scene did not seem right for the end of Synchronistic. So his death scene begins at the beginning of 6 Minutes. And he starts finding out what he was supposed to see that he missed.
Yeah, the life he didn't have.
Yeah, and so I never wanted to sell this book to a person that didn't realize, hey, this is not done. I need to talk to you first about this book because it is missing. This is the dark, and I'm going towards the light, and I need you to see that. And if you just read this book and start going, yeah, a lot of this stuff makes sense. No, it's not. I don't want you to feel that way. So I'm very blessed that Libernet, that WIT Publishing, that NFTs have come around so that I can actually release this on the scene before being done with this second book. Because breaking this up into sections gives me the chance to really talk about the emotions in these pages. It's not supposed to be read in a couple of days. It's really supposed to be sat on and chewed on. And, I'm very fortunate. I'm blessed to work with y'all, and I'm really excited about this.
We're blessed to work with you. I mean, I want to, the whole ambiguity of it. I mean, it does very much fall in line with everything that's going on now. The ambiguity of Ashley's death. How did he die? what's he going to experience? And in a way, if his death does begin in the second book, but his brain activity is still going, then there is a certain part of him that's still alive. So again, just plays into the ambiguity of like, you know, what is this hairline between life and death? What is this, you know, what does it mean to still remember someone and then be gone? What does it mean to see a potential life that you've had, knowing that you're minutes away from death? And all these questions are very much unanswered objectively, but we can come up with subjective stories to make sense of them, I think. But you know, the thing I was going to sort of go down was that you have finished this book, but the thing about how you wanted to release it is that the technology to make this really what it should be didn't exist even 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, there's a fascinating story that I talk about in my first book. This will reveal a little bit of a section that's later, but I mentioned about in the city of Alexandria, that back when they had the library in Alexandria, any boat that would pull up, they would take like every single book that they have and make sure that they had a copy of that book in their library. If they did not have it, they would confiscate it from the people that came to, you know, the ports. And part of what was in Alexandria at the time was the thinking of not creating something that was just attainable at that moment, but to actually, you know, try to think about things you could create in the future when those technologies, that idea is possible. And the thing I point out in the book is that Da Vinci actually created the parachute 80 years before the material was even able to be made to make the parachute, but it works perfectly, you know? I mean, but he did not let that time period stop him by creating something, you know? So, you know, I was thinking of trying to release this in different ways back in the future. If people look at my Twitter page, my first little tweet is from 6 years ago before the other day. And I was wanting to start getting to release this in puzzles, but I did not see the avenue. And now the material for that parachute has been made. It's exactly what you're talking about, man. And I appreciate you realizing that.
Yeah, absolutely. The blockchain, the NFTs, the decentralized web. It's so funny that you referenced the Library of Alexandria, because when Dylan approached me last summer with this sort of presentation about the Libernet, he was going to call it the Library of Alexandria, and as a kind of a index of all of human knowledge. And the thing about this index is that it is. As it's decentralized, is publicly owned, and it is created by people for people. And even when we sort of speak about your book as a kind of cause of cooperation and collaboration between people, the parallels are just striking, you know. And there's also the Choose Your Own Adventure book, which just takes that collaboration another step. If you want to say it like that, you know, so you know, and that's just it's all fascinating, you know, it's all fascinating to have these resources to do this now, you know.
I think it's bringing artists back into something. Now, I do want to go ahead and bring this up because I mentioned about my artists briefly, like, just to throw this in here now, I wouldn't have been able to do this without a team behind me. I always knew that with my work. You know, I understand how to kind of set a stage. I'm not going to be the one that's kind of putting the stuff on the stage or creating like the environment. I can tell people like what I'm seeing with it, but also as artists, I want to give other artists their freedom to be able to work within it independently and create their own art.
Yeah.
You know, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I mentioned that I have an amazing artist, that person that did that piece that we showed for a minute there.
Yes.
And I want to, you know, make sure because, you know, again, with me being mysterious and stuff, I need to make sure to give him his proper due that while I'm putting him on the scene. And his name is Warpaint. That's what he goes by. His name is in the bottom right-hand corner. And when I talked to him about doing this project, you know, a friend of mine brought him to me and we started, talking, and I started looking at his work, and I was flabbergasted about how good this person was. Now, I was blown away. And so it was funny when we had our first talk, like I was suspicious. I was like, this is really good work. And so the first conversation I had with Warpaint is like, I was like, hey, man, this work is pretty freaking good. What's your background, man? And he's like, man, well, my dad's an architect. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. Like, he's been hand drawing his architecture for engineering for his 40-year career, like everything. Like, I all of a sudden saw this kid at 2 years old, like trying to draw a stick figure, and his dad be like, it's not going to work. If you're going to draw a person, man, I can't accept. So, like, it really did show. And the problem is people, it is flooding the scene so much, and so many artists are coming into the fold right now and trying NFTs, whether it's now musicians that are coming in, or whether it's writers like that we have it with publishing. It really is a place that everybody is just flooded, and it's really hard to grab attention. And I think with publishing, especially on the writing aspect of it, with people just throwing out some little bit of their work and letting people see what they're doing, might inspire them to actually start doing something and saying, you know what, I really do want to do more with this. And now people are responding with me out, not doing a whole book and putting myself out there. I just wrote this piece. I think, like we talked about, I think we can have a poetry album or a poetry book in the future with Whip that I think would be really, really something special.
For me, it makes complete sense with the poetry. Because poetry is normally, only a few pages long, and there are many poets out there, some of which I know personally, whose poetry never gets never sees the light of day, unfortunately, and that might, and of course people can write poems whatever they want, but there is a whole all of these notebooks all across the country, or everywhere really, there are all these wonderful poems that no one will ever see, and a lot of that comes from their hindrance and their worry of not knowing how to do it, not knowing how to actually make it kind of realized, or whatever you'd call it, and this again brings that ability to from connectivity and connectedness and for people and collaboration, and not this worry about this kind of corporate head sort of monitoring everything you do, and that's or regulating it, or taking all of the money, and this is kind of what the decentralized web is all about, I think.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you hear, in the past, you would hear a band that made it. Like you would have some different people that have some different, bands going on, and all of a sudden this person comes to you like, oh yeah, I made it. I'm in Capitol Record. I'm in one of these record labels. Nobody knows. It's almost like just getting a college degree or a college scholarship to play football. Like only 10% or so of the people that even get signed to a major record label actually make it. They put their money into other, acts, and they don't promote them. They just sign them. And I mean, so even like, yes, I made it. I got signed with this publisher. I got signed with this one label, whatever it might be, doesn't mean that anything has happened for you yet, and this is really now a decentralized way and a community that people can get behind and be like, you know what, I'm going to help promote you. I'm going to help promote you. And dude, it's going to change the world, man. We're only at the tip of the iceberg as far as what this is going to actually do. And you hear people in NFTs all the time, like, I've been in 2 weeks and it feels like 4 months.
Yeah.
It's like going to college on like
steroids.
Yes. Yeah. And so we have not looked under the water yet and realized there's still over 90%. We're still on the tip.
Yeah.
And so to be able to do this, to be able to, I don't know if somebody's done in the blockchain as far as a book in this manner with, these puzzles. They're coming. And I'm not the first person to ever think about this. They're already doing puzzles as far as giveaways with NFTs, but I just think that there's a lot of space that we are still growing into, and it's amazing to be a part of the journey and a part of the beginning.
This is the whole thing I was sort of saying with like when you know I have a lot of crypto skeptic friends or whatever, and you know, and I've said this a few times, but sort of when you sort of see the space and what people actually want to do here, there's nothing really about diamond hands. It's all going to go up, go up, go up. You know, I put investments. But when I know a few people that do want to just sort of invest in money because I think it's going to be like a pump and dump scheme, and they're going to make, you know. But when you actually talk on here with people that are actually behind the sort of the more integral aspects of blockchain technology, it's about creativity and it's about friendship and community and all the rest of these things. When I sort of you know, when the, you know, we've had this big dip in crypto assets over the past week. You know, it's actually put at its lowest on Rare Pizzas Day. Did anyone care? No, they were having fun. They were buying pizzas. They were having, you know, we were all still just as passionate as we were before. And and now, you know, I just want to make this whole thing. It's shot up. You know, like everyone's buying again. I think Matic is up 120% today. Which is just mad. It's absolutely mad, and no one's even, you know. I mean, Dylan was like, you know, Dylan's reaction to Ethereum dropping like, you know, maybe like 40-50% was like, hey, it's a discount. Everyone can buy these books for a cheaper price. You know, no one. It's not about making a quick buck here. There's so much more going on, and the sooner people realize that, the better. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I mean, that you're exactly, man, you nailed it like on the head again, man. Like the thing is, people have been coming to me as far as, you know, I think I bought my first Bitcoins for like $180. So I got 4 Bitcoins for like $800, you know?
Wow.
And, you know, and so I've been driving, like I really pitched people on Bitcoin before the last halving, not this one, but the one before in like 2016, saying, hey, it's $650, people. Like, to think that you're not going to double your investment, let's say in the next 4 years, and make a 25% return, I don't see how this is not feasible. It was $650 when I was begging people, like, hey, look into this. Like, y'all need to think about.
So what is it up now? That's so we're up about.
I think it's
like 20 times more. No, it's even more. I don't know.
I haven't looked recently. We might be at $700 now. I don't know. Like,
maybe a slight return.
Jesus, so the thing is with this NFT blowing up, people have kind of started to be like, hey, you actually know what's going on, and I'm hearing these words and I don't know what they mean, and what should I get? And my main thing is, I tell people, like, get something you're passionate about, that you like, that you're really like, whether it's that art or whatever. If you're getting in this field, don't get into it because, oh, I want to make a buck. Like, if you're looking at that, man, it is what it is, and it is happening. But the purists, the people that are real artists, the people that are really here for this blockchain and really for what this is all about, are in for the beauty, and the rest will happen in its own way. Like the community I've met from getting into NFTs and starting to get, like, as I said, I know a few idiots out there that I've gotten to know. And, you know, as much as maybe I've lost here, or much as this or that, I have gained so much knowledge in this college on steroids that it's worth the price, no matter what that I'm getting into, because it is showing us where the world is starting to get ready to head to.
Absolutely. If anyone has any questions over the next 20 minutes, we'll keep doing this. Just leave a YouTube comment. We'll see it. And, you know, especially Andy, if anyone has any questions for Andy, any questions for me, like, you know, please do this. But yeah, it is a, you know, it is something you're passionate about. I often do it, like, you know, both based on what I'm passionate about and on what I think will help people. What's a good tool? I made a post a few weeks ago, a podcast a few weeks ago, saying, talking about, you know, there's a difference between tools and experiences, and we seem to have mixed the two up. You know, we seem to rather than like think about the US dollar and for it as a tool to make our lives better, we think about you know, we think, oh, the US dollar is the experience, and it's like, no, that's not true at all. You know, economies always revolve and they always change. And to sort of, you know, sort of say that the US dollar is necessary for human experiences doesn't make any sense to me, especially when other tools have come along which are better in every single way. Every single, like, I can give you a creative reason as to why cryptocurrency is better, or a social reason, or a political reason, or a moral reason, or an you know, or you know, it's fascinating.
No, I agree with you 100%, man, and it's, you know, we are moving very fast into a new way of life, and I think the main thing that might have shocked the world and showed the world that this is starting to happen is what happened with GameStop.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that was the defining moment that the youth of this generation now is taking over, and the way the economy used to roll is done. That was the first thing. When you start seeing billionaires cry and saying, please stop doing this, and then all these stock markets like start like pulling where you can't sell and stuff because a bunch of kids got together and said, dude, let's do this.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean,
fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like that was the point that I knew that we were going into this new world, and a lot of people are going to be left behind. Like it's once you hit over 35 years old, it's hard to understand a new technology.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'll talk to people about this metaverse and what is starting to happen, and that, you know, there's statistics that in 5 years people will be more in virtual reality or this metaverse than they will be in reality. And, you know, Google, I mean, I think it's Apple that's coming out with glasses, and Ray-Ban starting to get ready to come out with glasses. I mean, when you're going to have glasses on your face where your boss, you look over at him and he has a puppy dog nose and ears and he's telling you what to do, this is going to be funny, man. Like, hey, I really need you to stack these. You're going to be kind of laughing. He looks like a freaking little puppy, you know, like and you're going to be able to have, like, as you're walking down the street, maybe dolphins swimming beside you, you know. There's no telling what, you know, is about to occur, and we're on the cusp of it. And it's exciting times, man. This is the next renaissance. This really is.
It is, man. You know, above all, like my worry is that we'll still borrow from the socio-cultural like paradigms of what came before into this new technology. It'd be nice to sort of kind of find a way to with this new revolution in materials to also have a revolution in ideas, for us to also be able to, like, you know, go, well, actually, I don't care about all of this stuff anyway, and you know, and bring in a sort of way forward that based on what people actually want, based on like a continuation of what came before. This is the moment, I think, where people can, like, where people will have a much more varied toolkit of tools to actually bring to sort of engage and execute things that they actually care about without the worry of you know, a big government or a big market or sort of whatever it is, just sort of regulating everything that you do. So it's it's a pivotal moment. It is exciting for sure. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're going to see what's happening. I mean, you're across the pond and everything. I mean, the United States is starting to take a strong response on cryptocurrency. There's talks in parts of our country, like, let's say, you know, you had 100,000 in Bitcoin, but you've never spent it. It's just been there since you bought it. They're talking about the possibility of the future in our country, saying, well, I mean, you haven't taken that out actually and made it into 100,000 US dollars, but you have $100,000 and we want some of that money. And so they're talking about, like, starting to tax people on future assets and future gains.
That's very strange.
I mean, you know, so, you know, it's been a fight, and even with them going in front of Congress in the United States and saying, hey, the longer you fight with this, you're pushing out the greatest talents They're going to go to other countries where cryptocurrencies are more free for them to work without the possibility of regulations against them. You know, so it's just, you know, in some cases, you know, whether it's AI or whether it's this, you know, we have not as a world decided to try to regulate things in certain ways to try to keep a handle on them. And so this is happening, and it's going to be.
I mean, it is bullshit anyway. Like future gains, does that mean we get compensated if we lose the cryptocurrency? You know, just
see, that's interesting. Yeah,
you know, like, you know, if I've got 50,000 in Bitcoin, then Bitcoin goes up in 100,000. Does that mean that they're going to tax me for the future? But if I lose all of that and Bitcoin goes down to nothing, does that mean I'm going to get reimbursed? Or because if not, it sounds like you only win if you win. Like they're like, you know. It's a cheat of a game. The game is rigged. That, you know, we'll only tax you if you win. Well, you know, if you win, you lose, and if you lose, you lose. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Does anyone? Robbie, if you have any questions or anyone watching for us, then please go, because we're on about 10-15 minutes left before our hour is up. And yeah. But it is a fascinating. So, new puzzle pieces being made.
No, what we're going to do now, man, we're going to get ready to mint these puzzles.
Okay.
We did a giveaway for the first 100 followers within Ashley Isaac Stevens' Twitter account. Yeah. That is with 2 A's. It's Ashley Isaac, ISAAC, Stevens, STEVENS, and that's at Ashley I Stevens. Yep. And the idea is right now we are in the process of preparing to mint this 1 of 1 that Lindsay won, and then this, you know, the serial numbers of up to 100. If anybody makes a remake video of you know, the work that I did as far as releasing the puzzles and the video that I did, there is a chance for one of the top 3 of the 1 of 100 on the line right now on that space. Yeah. And what we're going to do is, it sounds like they're almost ready for the new website to go live with WIT Publishing. And so we're going to launch the first 20-something pages of my book. So that's what the idea to begin here with. And then maybe we'll get together, or if any other podcasts are interested, I'm ready to start talking about my work. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me while we're getting ready to release those pages, but what we're going to do is release those pages, and then we're going to set up as far as the next giveaway and prepare people for the next 100 free NFTs.
Amazing. Sounds awesome. Sounds really exciting. Yeah. It is. Yeah. I mean, and this is going to be like a lot. Like you said, when I said at the beginning, you know, me going with you all the way. You know, it's going to be a long road. I mean, what was the time span we were thinking of this whole project?
You know, the NFT verse is not really compliant with time spans. You know, like, you know, you're in the field for a month and it feels like a year. So that's right. I mean, I'd like to, you know, pull this out over the course of the year and make this fun and exciting, where we can do this and have this amazing end be a year from now. But the NFT doesn't work like that. So, you know, the main thing is me and the artist wanted to get ahead of this bad boy, this train start rolling. And we're going to find like a common ground. It might end up being about 6 months. It might be, you know, 8 or 9. I am going to try to slow this thing down as much as I can and just, you know, and, you know, not get this thing out of control. But at the same time, when people want something, they want it. And so we'll fill that out. We'll have these conversations between the breakings of the puzzles and the releasing of the material. And you know, that's a healthy thing as far as me, you, Dylan, and the people involved, whether it's idiots or whether it's other people that are like, hey, on my Twitter, like, hey, I need it. Yeah. It's fixed, you know? So, you know, I'm going to let everybody and how comfortable within how this is playing it out and how much enjoyment they're getting out of it really kind of set the path.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. Is that? I mean, we haven't got any questions, and is that? I mean, and we're nearing 11 now, so maybe we can just wrap it up now. Is there anything you'd like to mention, Andy, before we nip it in the bud?
No, man. I really appreciate you having me on. You know, I think that this is something that, you know, from the beginning and easy getting in touch with me all of a sudden on a Discord channel, because I just made a brief instance of saying, yeah, I wrote a book, and you wrote a book, you know, it's been synchronistic this whole way. I'm really blessed to work with you, because as soon as I told you some of the concepts that I want to work on throughout this project, you immediately were responsive, like, yes, you know, let's do that. That will be interesting and cool. And so I look forward to how we can have fun with people in the future in this project, and make this, you know, as far as Ashley, kind of come to life and breathe some air into this, you know, and so thank you so much. Thank Wood Publishing, you know, thank Libernet, you know, thank Warpaint, my artist. Go look up his work. He has some stuff on Rarible that people need to grasp before, like, because this guy's good.
Yeah, awesome. And we're so stoked to have you back on. We're so stoked to have you back on the next one, and join us on Wednesday for our Authors Table Token Smart event. It's going to be a good one. So thanks everyone for watching, and thank you, Andy.
You have a great night, man.
Goodbye.